guys, Napalm Dawn here for G4G, going through the Marvel Future Fight Endgame update. This has brought a lot of stuff to talk about within this game, as it is really huge. It's probably, I would think, one of the biggest content updates in the game, and it actually was probably one of my biggest crystal dumps in the entire game. So I wanted to go ahead and start first with the uniforms and tell you guys what's going on over there. So if you are a Thanos player, if you are somebody who has a built-up Thanos, you definitely want to get the latest Thanos uniform, as it makes him pretty good and people are universally praising the Thanos uniform in this update. Even if you have other ones, it is generally recommended that you get the newest one that is available, which is the endgame one. Now, I will say that Thanos, with the exception of his original, well, obviously there was his original one, he's always been relatively meta, but he got some good marks for when he got his hobo outfit, and then when he got his Infinity War outfit, he continued to get good marks. So Thanos is definitely enjoying a very good run of good uniforms that just continue to escalate his power. Unfortunately for me, I do not have the world's most built up Thanos. A lot of my high build characters, I just don't have them out of the gate, so I feel a little less bad now that I hadn't built up Apocalypse, because Apocalypse took over Carnage for combat villain, and I never really had a good Apocalypse, so I continued to use Carnage, and my god, it just felt like he was so bad at that point. Now we have Minerva, and we're going to get to something else a little bit later, so I feel a little bit less bad. Thanos and Odin and Apocalypse were like my three big regrets when it comes to super build characters. They all have their use, with maybe the exception of Black Dwarf. I'm not going to call him Cull Obsidian. I'm sorry, he's fucking Black Dwarf to me. Scarlet Witch is considered good. Evil Cable or Strife, I do believe, is considered good. However, I think I've heard that he's ridiculously squishy in PvP. And same thing for Adam Warlock, but I do believe he does well in ABX. And then the somewhat poor man's version would be Magneto. Sabretooth is not a super build character, but I've heard he's doing okay. A lot of people have said out of Juggernaut and Warpath I should put my mutant bios into Juggernaut, and that's what I've been doing. I really have not felt any need to build Dormammu, or Shuggy, or Ebony Maw. Odin had sort of been one of my regrets, but I've been doing okay in Universal Hero. But I do hope at some point I would like to get around to Thanos. Doom's an expensive one to build, but I don't know if he's meta enough for me to really push it right now. But anyway, back to the uniform store. So if you can, you do want to go ahead and get the Thanos outfit. I probably will get it. I didn't get it initially because I don't have a built-up Thanos, so I didn't really go for it. Ant-Man, so before we go a little further about talking with people who have an alternate uniform for Endgame and then a team suit, the two are identical. You can go either or and you will wind up a winner. When you buy one, the other one gets cheaper. And to further cheapen the cost of these, they share their levels and everything. So if you get both, and let's say you take the end game up to legendary, the team suit also gets up to legendary. So with the exception of a reduced cost, they're basically just aesthetic differences. Once you get one, the other one gets reduced, and all it is aesthetics. Now, all of Ant-Man's are always going to be pretty much the same. I mean, if you look at Endgame and Ant-Man and the Wasp, I kind of think they don't change at all. And then, of course, you have Ant-Man, which is a little bit snoutier over there. And then you have the original, you have the movie, you have Civil War. So his suits don't change a lot. From what I know, the Endgame suit and the team suit are a reasonable upgrade for him. He had his time in the sun as a speed meta character. I think he's fallen off too far to really make a comeback. But Ant-Man's been so off people's radars for a while that if you pick up his modern suits over here, you're probably doing well for yourself. But I don't know if it's strong enough to make him meta again. Rocket Raccoon comes in with Blast. You probably are going to be able to get some Shadowlands out of him. I can't say I really ever heard of Rocket really putting up some notches on his belt in other modes. You don't really ever see him in PvP. Don't really know what he could do for a world boss. There's just so... Blast is just such a hard field to break into because there are so many good Blast characters from top to bottom. A Rocket Raccoon suit you would kind of push more towards the upper end of don't need. It's probably not the most I don't need suit, but it's certainly not the I really need to own it direction. Now, Nebula, on the other hand, I have been hearing some pretty good things about Nebula's outfits, and from what people are saying, you do want to pick her up, especially for combat villain. Now, you've got Minerva, who looks a lot like this Nebula, by the way, and you've got her, and there have been some comparison videos lately of comparing her on combat villain to Minerva on combat villain. You may want to check those videos out. I haven't yet, so they may shed some light on who really wins the combat villain day, whether it's Minerva or Nebula. But the fact that people are doing comparison videos on it are a good sign that, hey, you know, maybe she can actually do something over there. So the one team that I have finished is Thor Ragnarok, by the way, because I was actually doing that for the legendary missions. You have War Machine. You have his endgame suit and the team suit. From what I know on this one, not the biggest update in the world. If you've got Infinity War, you probably don't necessarily need to run out and make War Machine a top priority. Again, he's Blast. Very, very crowded field. Hulk, all reports that I've been exposed to are saying that the Hulk suit is pretty good, and it is a major upgrade for him. It's also the only time we've gotten Thor's representation in any of the more modern movies, so he didn't have anything from any of the other movies that he was in except for Avengers and then Ragnarok, and that is a very iconic outfit, as is Future Imperfect, as is Mr. Fix-It, and everything like that. But if you want a movie Hulk, this is what you're going to do. And picking up both of these, I've heard, is really good. Combat hero, I'm still sticking with Wolverine, and I don't really know if anybody's topping that right now. But I've heard that this particular suit is definitely worth a pickup. Black Widow comes in towards the upper ends of the chart over here with her suit from Endgame being a pretty, like, it's a purchase that you want to get. Also, she's got some that are now purchasable for gold if you haven't picked them up. So you go all the way back in time to the original Avengers. She gets Age of Ultron, and you can see she's already getting more love than Hulk. But then again, how much did Purple Pants and topless chest really changed throughout the movies over here. She has Secret Wars 2099, which is purchasable for that amount of gold. And, oh, okay, I got a challenge over there. Then, of course, you have Civil War. You have Infinity War. Oddly enough, they didn't add a Winter Soldier for her. Interesting. So you have Infinity War, and then you have Endgame and the team suit. This is one that you do want to go ahead and pick up, especially if you've got the crystals for it. The one you really need to pick up is Ronin. Ronin takes Hawkeye from literally nowhere up to something that actually can hang on a little bit. So you have his original Avengers, you have Age of Ultron, which I kind of hate this trench coat in here. And then you have Civil War. He gets back to looking a little bit better. You have the cel-shaded classic along with Loki and a couple others. And you can see where the light is supposed to be on the character screen. The light seems to be coming from this direction. I'd say about 45 degrees over here because of the shadow. But the Avengers Endgame outfit for him, converting him into Ronin, everybody's saying, like, you've got to grab this one. Now, he doesn't have a team suit, so you're one and done on this one, but everybody's saying go ahead, and if there's one suit you get, it's the Ronin suit, and then probably second to that is Thanos, and then it would be Black Widow and Nebula rounding out the bottom of the must-haves and getting around to the and then your worst ones would be like Rocket and War Machine and everything like that. Those are the ones that you don't necessarily have to grab. I don't think I've made too many mistakes quite yet in terms of getting ones that well, like, oh, hey, this looks cool, let me get it, before I started doing research on which ones to get. Actually, no, now that I'm thinking about it, there is a mistake that I made, and that is the Captain America suits. So I saw them, and I knee-jerked, and I went, oh, Captain, you know, he's my only, like, level 70, he's the only one that I've really pushed, trying to get him the T3, except the, you know, I got to get the materials and everything like that. I just kind of went, you know, we've got Captain America on the brain lately. He was the first 70 in T3 that everybody started really liking. It's like, oh, he's so good. This one maybe is a little less important. However, I think that if I recall, he can actually slowly do it, but still solo a giant boss raid with this uniform. So this isn't the biggest regret in the world to have gotten both of these. So this one I can give you an example of the synergy over here. Synergy uniforms share uniform experience, rank, and option. So they're clones. They're tied to each other, you know, through an umbilicus baby. An umbilicus, a baby. And I don't even know what I was trying to say on that one. They're tied through an umbilicus cord over here where they're going to share stuff. And when you purchase one, you get a discount on the other. And a bonus option will be applied to Synergy uniforms if you own two of them. If own two Synergy uniforms. Bad Korean to English translation there. But you can see I get another 5% on attack and everything like that. So you'll see here that it's advanced, and this one is advanced, and it's the exact same stat. So once you get both, it's just a matter of visually which one do you want to run. Other than that, the uniforms don't mean any difference. To be honest, I think I would get myself back up to the amount of crystals where I could go 2 Widows, 2 Hulks, 2 Nebulas, and the Thanos. And then I wouldn't go after Ant-Man, wouldn't go after Rocket, and wouldn't go after War Machine. So I would write those 3 right out. Another thing about the update, and this is where a lot of people have been super, super happy, is the Shield Academy. Now, I'm at a level where the Shield Academy missions don't particularly mean much to me. These are more designed for beginners, maybe people just getting into the game, or maybe people just haven't gotten into it recently. However, everybody benefits from it because they fling a tier 2 Sharog at you. And if you're going to sit there and say, well, I already have a very good Sharog that's, I don't need this, you get bios out of it. So when I was granted this tier 2 Sharon Rogers, if we look at my team over here, by the way, Sharon Rogers has been one of my favorite characters for some time. I had a little bit of misgivings about the new uniform because I had gotten the Starlight one to Mythic, and so when Captain America came out, everybody was like, wow, actually she's really good once you get to learn how to play her. And then the Starlight armor came out, and everybody went, I don't know, she plays so different. She's more like ranged than a stabby Lancer. And then people really got into the Starlight armor, like, holy shit, this is really good. Now the Dark Star one is out, and I felt bad that I'm like, I'm dropping out of a Mythic again. But I like it. And if you know how to play her well and your stats are good, she's a beast. But if we look at her bios, I'm up to 870 of her bios, and that's because I got granted the equivalent of the bios of a tier 2 character. So yeah, handy. Even if she was completely topped off for you, and you're like, she's top, she's Mythic uniform, she's 70, she's this, that, and the other thing, I really don't need those bios. Well, yeah, you do, because they can be siphoned off to somebody like Apocalypse and Thanos and all the other native T2s and everything. So no matter who you get a huge clump of bios for, there's always something you can do with it, which is pretty cool. I want to get Ronin out of this one, so I want somebody who is sub 60. It's funny, you have Ronin and Ronin, and sometimes when you hear people talking about, like, oh, Ronin's so good and what a good uniform it is, there was actually a time when I went over here, I was like, another new uniform for Ronan? And I was like, no, it's Ronin. Oh god, I'm so stupid. I was like, I don't see another uniform, I just see the one from Captain Marvel. Like, idiot moment over there. So I'm surprised Wolverine Juggernaut actually don't have any synergies. I would have expected it. Here's my Falcon. Never particularly went after any of the other Falcon uniforms. The only reason why I have them is because they help somebody else's. So you definitely want to go through and do everything in the Shield Academy that you can, because you get a ton of gold for it. You do get the tier 2 Captain America Sharon Rogers, and if you need to siphon off her bios to somebody else, hey, that's fine. We have under challenge, you've got the new legendary battle. You have the normal version and the extreme. If you get the extreme, it's 2,500, and there seems to be a CTP over there. The first one was very, very easy for me. However, Big Guns is annoying because my War Machine is not built up, and I was playing it through BlueStacks at first and avoiding what you need to avoid when you're not doing touch controls for it was super, super annoying because my War Machine was getting shit pushed in. So I absolutely want to go ahead and do that on touch. And then you also have this world event, which every time I look, it's never up, and I need to do it because I want those tokens. So that the tokens you get from that go into this new thing that is called agent level. And it's this over here with the agent badge. Now, You, when you're doing things right, you will have 2 entries over here at the beginning of the list. They're basically books that bump up your agent badge. Or you can sacrifice an ISO. The thing is, even if you use stuff you have, the ISOs, you have to have these badges in order to actually do the enhancement. That's where you have to do that world event. That's what I really need to go ahead and do. It's just that my timing for it has been complete ass. However, my hero badge is doing really good. And that is how built up your characters are. When you get these bonuses, you can come here and apply them to these kind of passive stats. From what I've recalled, gold and item acquisition are considered good ones to bump up. All attack and defense are good too, but the gold acquisition and the item acquisition don't really have counterparts to that. You can't get a card or an ISO or an Uru that do that. That makes these very, very sensitive to the points that you put in them. These are good things to do. Now, character XP, you have boosts and everything like that, and if you are fairly top level, this doesn't really mean a lot to you, but there is nothing that really bumps up your gold and your item acquisition, which can reduce farming, which can increase your free time and everything like that. They are ones that you do want to go ahead and build up as best you possibly can. So that's about what we've got going on for the endgame update over here. Good luck to all those who are doing the endgame world event and the legendary battles. I will be catching up to that shortly. It's very interesting that this is the representation that they go with for Thanos. Now, we've seen him in Infinity War in this outfit when you do the flashbacks, but I almost wonder what that implies for what we're going to see of Thanos when Endgame comes out. And I really need to get myself some more crystals so I can get the rest of those uniforms over there. So a lot of people are happy that there isn't a new character. Not that this cheapens this update whatsoever. It is still a relatively expensive crystal update if you try to get the uniforms. And I will say that there are some that you pretty much want to get. Thanos and Ronin are definitely 2 of the top ones. Then you get into Nebula, Hulk, Widow, Captain, kind of in the middle a little bit, and then War Machine, Rocket, and Ant-Man, I think, are bringing up the rear a little bit over there. And, I mean, Captain's Infinity War one was really good, but I've heard that the Endgame one is relatively solid. Another thing that you want to go for over here is that when you are looking at uniforms, some of them are now available for gold. So if you've got somebody where, say, you were trying to update their outfit and it required somebody else's outfit that you didn't have, you might now be lucky enough to be able to purchase that uniform with gold. Now, really, none of the important uniforms out there are purchasable by gold. And you have to get somebody who has multiples in order to do it. If it's just somebody with an original and one particular skin, you're not going to see any of them be available for gold. Obviously, an original one's not going to cost you gold, but if they just have one outfit, don't expect to be able to buy it with gold. So if I go to the dressing room over here, clearly Black Dwarf or Coal Obsidian is going to cost crystals. Now, if we start looking at somebody like X23, see, crystals actually ridiculously expensive too. if we find somebody who's got multiples, so Luke Cage, this one over here, because he's got 3, that one's purchasable by gold. So, 500,000 is pretty easy to make, especially nowadays, as you can see here with all these Punisher ones. That one is still crystals. That's Marvel's Daredevil. Now, that one kind of makes sense that it's going to still be crystals, because it is a relatively new suit for him as compared to some of the old ones. But still, 1.2k crystals for a Punisher outfit, I think is pretty fucking ridiculous. Like that's just greedy right over there. One of the Quake ones is purchasable by gold. I have already had the original and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. one, and I just hate the haircut of the modern outfit so much. I never bothered to get it. I was like, I am never going to use this abomination. Why bother? But here, looking at Moon Girl, I guarantee you this one's going to cost crystals. It's because she only has one other outfit. And man, it's expensive. I just don't feel like these suits should be anywhere near 1.7k at this point. I mean, Mockingbird is nowhere, and she's still at 1.2. She should be like 950 or something like that. I've got both Karnax, Hawkeye, Sin, Wong, Speed Wong. Alright, let's take a look here at Yondu. All new, all different. Let's see about that one. Yep, still a crystal. Now, whether or not his Guardians of the Galaxy 2 would be available for gold, I don't know. I would wager a guess that no. You're not really going to get anybody super important with gold, but they might actually become important for somebody else's upgrade, and that's why looking into using your gold now to get them is probably a good idea. So that's about it for me, guys. There is Iron Man. Yeah, so we haven't talked about his suit. That's the one. It's not Captain America. It's the Endgame suits for Iron Man. That was my big disappointment. So I have both of these. And I'm like, Iron Man's really risen up to the point where he's relative meta right now. I mean, he's not Cable, although there are some reports coming in that his Endgame uniform is comparable to Cable. There's been a lot of disagreement with that. I've seen some people saying it is. Some people like, you kidding? He's not going to top Cable. I don't really know yet which way it will go, but there definitely is a set of people that are believing that his Endgame uniform is quite disappointing. And this flies in the face with people saying that Iron Man isn't meta. At least he hasn't gotten any more meta because of these suits. But if we look at Infinity War and we look at Endgame, the Endgame one gets better because it's 20%, it's 15, and then when you have both, you get the extra 5. So you do get a little bit more than Infinity War. And then if we take a look at the uniform effect, so the Infinity War one is a shield for 50%, 3% every second, absorbs 10% normal shield activation when hit. Creates a shield 50%, refreshes by 5%. So you get a minor update to the shield, and I don't think any of the abilities change. If I recall correctly, they don't in any way, shape, or form. That's why some people are calling this suit to be a waste, especially if you have Infinity War. Now, some of these are definitely a good upgrade if you don't own any of the Infinity Wars ones. That's definite. But for people who have Infinity War Avengers outfits coming up to the more modern ones, there definitely is some where it's not worth it, and then there's some you absolutely want to do. So that's it for me, guys. That's the Infinity War, excuse me, the Endgame update over here to Future Fight. Let me know what you think about the ones that I've commented on below. I would expect maybe some disagreements with the Ant-Man one. I can certainly see that. Captain, I think I kind of correct myself in saying that when I said his uniform wasn't that big of a deal, it was not him that I was thinking of. It was Iron Man. I think the Captain uniform is pretty good. Nothing for Thor, though. Let me take a look at something here. I don't think Thor's got any... Yeah, Thor doesn't have any uniforms there. You know, the sad thing is I just happened to recently get the Infinity War one, which is good that he doesn't have a new one. As you can see here, I'd been running the Ragnarok one for a while and bumped it up to Mythic, but Infinity War is his highest power level right now. So, again, trying to get out of here. Take care, folks. Hope you liked the video. I'll see you in the next one.